We can sit here and start financially planning out how much money you're going to make renting out your house.
Yeah. Woo. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast.
Third Degree, the podcast, is brought to you by Soccer90.com. They got everything you can want from the Premier League, Serie A, MLS, and of course, all that sweet, sweet FC Dallas gear. Shop Soccer90.com for all your jerseys, tees, and scarves. Third Degree listeners get 20% off at checkout if you use the code Third Degree. That's 20% off. Soccer90.com, code Third Degree. Some exclusions do apply.
Well, hello there, FC Dallas Curious fan. Welcome to another episode of Third Degree, the podcast. This one is episode number 246. Hi, I'm Peter. Dan Crooke is not with us this week as he has a family thing to attend, and our best to him and his family. So it is just myself and the original. In fact, I decided today he's the original MLS influencer. Your hero, my hero, everybody's hero, and yes, the original of thirddegree.net, Buzz Carrick. Come in, Buzz.
Hi, Peter. Thank you for that introduction. This was the first training session today of season 27 of our coverage, which is too short of how long the club's been around.
Your coverage, Buzz.
Yeah. Well, no, you've been here for close to that. You were with me since maybe a season or two after I started. So
I'm just the talking box. You're the one that does all the work. I don't want anybody thinking that I'm actually doing any effort or work here. I'm just the talking box.
I was trying to think of who out there has been around as long as me, and the only one I can come up with is like Mark Fiskin, I think, in New York.
I don't think Mark's been around quite as long as you.
No.
I don't think Denord has been around quite as long as you, although he doesn't really cover the team in that sense.
Yeah.
And I know, Buzz, there isn't anybody that has been doing this as long as you have. You do realize, Buzz, that you are a rare bird in that there are guys that really work hard at covering their local team in the United States. But I don't think there's anybody else, who's completely independent financially from the club that can also like rattle off the starting 11 of the U15 team.
Yeah.
You know,
it may be that I'm insane, Peter. This may not be a good thing.
Okay, that's your version of events. I think you're just awesome. So
I appreciate that.
Thanks for doing this, man. I appreciate it. All right, so Buzz, today was your very first opportunity. The weather's been wonky. The schedule for training has been all messed up and things, and today was your very first chance to go out to Frisco, attend training, and we'll start off with the big news that you had conversations with both Mr. Zanata and Mr. Manager Nico.
Yeah, you want to start with the Zanata one? That was
I think this is the way today should go, Buzz. I think you should just kind of unload your brain, and if I got a question I want to ask you, I'll drop in and spice it up that way.
Well, my day started at 5 a.m. because I had to take my wife to the airport, and when I left for that, of course, it was freezing. So I put on my long johns, got my big heavy coat, and my gloves, and my hat. And by the time I got to Frisco and had breakfast, and then took a nap in my truck and didn't get arrested, thankfully, I rolled out to the training at like 9:45. It was already like in the 50s, and so I was way overdressed for that, and I was disrobing jackets and hats and everything. The very first thing I learned on the day was that Enes Sali is indeed here. And they explained to me very clearly how he's here because he's not 18 yet. And that's a big deal. So they had to get a special permission for him to come in. Technically, he's in right now, quote unquote, on trial because he can't officially sign until he's 18, which is coming up like next month or something. So it's all clear and legal, and they want to make sure very clearly that I knew and that everybody knew that he was there and not breaking any rules. So that's important when you're talking about a 17-year-old kid and labor laws here in the United States.
Yes, I'd say so.
Yeah.
What country? Is he Romanian?
Canadian, Romanian, but whatever. Yeah. He's not American, and that's important. You have to do it correctly. So they laid out the difference, and it's, okay, I've never heard any of this, but I believe it. It all sounds right. So this is not MLS rules. This is legal labor rules. The second thing is I was a little bit shocked by all the new players Dallas added that are over 6 feet tall, because FC short doesn't really do that. And all of a sudden there's 3 or 4 or 5 new players that are like 6'2", 6'3" on the team, except for Enes Sali, who is a Smurf. He is the tiniest dude. He's Paul Areola without muscles. He is a tiny little shrimp.
So he's even, wait, what was the name of the Hungarian kid that was here for a couple years ago?
Smaller than that. Yes.
Really? God,
yes.
I can't believe I forgot his name. Yes.
Yeah.
Sabok Shun. Yes.
Yeah. Smaller than that. Now,
smaller than Joselito Vaca?
About that size. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Less muscle because he's 17, and Joselito by the time he was here was, came here at 18 or whatever it was, but then he was in his 20s for a good chunk of the time. So this kid is a kid, and he's a shrimpy, but he's quick and he's skilled, and that's nice. But he is clearly the smallest guy on the team, which is fine. So like we said before, he's almost pretend like he's a homegrown, right? He's a project. He shouldn't be impactful day one, or we have a problem. But anyway, good first impression on him. Definitely skilled, definitely quick. Not sure that, he's only been here for maybe his first day. I'm not really sure. So he definitely wasn't integrated into the team by any stretch of imagination. But we'll get to the rest of the training stuff later. I think I want to start with Zanata. And Zanata had some bombshells for sure to talk about. And I'll just kind of run through some of them. The first thing is, and you'll love this, Peter.
No.
I'm going to start with the bad news. They are not signing another center back.
I told you.
I
fucking told you.
You
They're
were
not
right.
signing another.
Yeah.
I knew it.
They're really excited about Omar Gonzalez.
Yes. Gosh.
Coach has a relationship with him going back to the national team, loves him, loves his leadership. He's the number 3 center back. They both talked about how he was available every game for New England last year. He keeps himself healthy and fit. We'll get back to this in a minute, but so he's number 3. Going along with that, by the time people are listening to this, it probably will be announced, but Ahmet Korsa is signed. He's re-upped. So he's on the roster for sure too. It's supposed to be announced tomorrow. So
hold on a second. Just pause.
Yep.
So your center backs for the 2024 FC Dallas season are Nkosi Tafari.
Yes.
I'm excited about that.
Yep.
Sebastian Igbiaga.
Yep.
Ibiaga. Thank you. Sorry.
Yep.
I'm so flustered in this moment. I can't even talk straight.
I know.
Omar Gonzalez
is 3. Yep.
And Corsa
is 4. Yep.
And then the kid they drafted, if he's worth
maybe
signing.
Yeah. Humphrey, maybe, or Westergrain, maybe at 5, possibly, or maybe you go with Norris, but I don't think it's Norris. I'll talk about that in a minute.
Okay.
So yeah, that's it.
Haven't we counted like 6 foreign center back signings in the league in the last several days across the?
Well, this is not about the availability. It's about how they're happy with what they got. They're in a wait and see mode and see how it goes. So, if it goes south, then they'll be able to do something in the summer, I guess, or whatever. But they're counting on Omar. They were Nick Zanata was like, he played 17 games last. I was like, oh my God, he's 35. I literally said that to him. But, look, I think Omar is a great addition. I do, if he's 4th or 5th, not 3rd. And that's so, yeah, no, he's Martinez's replacement, which is perhaps appropriate in a way. They went for an older guy to replace Martinez. Moves about the same amount. Omar's not fast these days, but, I will say one thing. Omar finished very high in the beep test. So, he is fit. He came in fit like a real pro.
That's fine. But you and I both know that's not. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's the bad news. That's the bad news. Is like, oh my God. All right. So item number 2 is I directly asked about the ex-Liverpool guy, Divock Origi.
Yeah.
I don't know how to say his name. That guy. Zanata said that he was indeed offered to them, but they passed. I imagine that has to do with how much money he would want. Because, somebody said he was on $8 million last year, and that somebody else, a reporter, when I say somebody else, said something about he wanted the money that Benteke is getting with DC, which is probably millions and millions, not Hunt money. So that's
right.
I imagine that wasn't even, they were like, LOL, good luck, given how much money he was looking for. But what I will say, specifically, as I said to Zanata, I said, well, this is, you keep getting linked to these strikers. Are you guys actively in the market for a 9? And he said, yes, 100%. They're trying to sign a 9. So that idea of Jesus as the off striker, or as coach called it, the 9.5 instead of a 9 or a 10 or wing, that's definitely in the cards. They're trying right now to sign one for this window. So keep an eye out, because that could happen any moment, really. If you can find the guy, you find the guy. And it's good to see get some confirmation from them that they are actually trying to get better. That if you're out going for a 9, that's a let's get better signing. That's the ambition signing we've been wanting. Will they do a good job? Will they get a guy? We'll see. But that's at least an indication that they are making an effort to get one. So that's good, even if it's not Origi or whatever his name is.
Well, they've made efforts before, and that hasn't gone well. But
of course,
and Origi is, what I fear about the Origi news. This is interesting on a couple of levels. First off is I'm very familiar with the guy. I would not want to sign him for Dallas. He's one of those guys that I fear, Buzz, has all the talent in the world. But much like his career over in Europe, he'd get here, and I have no idea what his attitude or mentality would be like.
Right.
I don't think it's a function of ability. It's just, where's his head at? Is he just looking for another big payday gig that he doesn't have to perform? Because I don't think the dude has scored in a league game in over a year. And when he was at Liverpool, he scored a bunch of really, really important goals for them, but it was all as a substitute. And on the few times they started him, he was a ghost. So that's not a name. I'm not disappointed to find out they're not willing to spend $7 million a year on that guy. But I also am not super I'm not confident in their ability to go out and find somebody. And I'm also very curious as to how they've gotten, to the middle of January, and they haven't found somebody. I mean, there's an entire planet of soccer players to choose from.
Well, they were looking for a particular profile. Coach said, of course, they want somebody that's a bit more of a post-up player, because they want Jesus to play and work off of that kind of player. For lack of a better thing, a Blas Perez, or if you're old school enough, Graziani and Kreis. That's what they're looking for. I've always said, I think you guys probably agree with me, that Jesus Ferreira is most like Jason Kreis in terms of the previous kind of player he's is compared to guys that have been here. Not like his dad at all.
Similarities between the two.
Yeah, incredible.
Yeah,
he's like a Kreis clone, it's not his dad clone. He's a Kreis clone. So like a guy like Jason used to play off of big strikers. Center channel strikers. That's what they want. So keep an eye out for that.
I just dawned on me.
Yeah.
If Jason Kreis and Jesus had a baby, they could name it Jesus Kreis. That'd be the most bitchin' line in Dallas soccer history.
That would be so good. Maybe if Jason has he probably has kids. I don't know. I've never asked him.
I think Jason does have kids.
Yeah. One of you.
I made myself laugh. Okay, sorry about that. I threw us completely off the rails.
Yeah. Okay, so keep an eye on that. And then also, Zanata says they actually have a signing lined up. Not Corsa, another one. That'll be done next week sometime. Not a 9 and not a center back, but something else. So they've got a body. I have no idea how good or bad. He didn't really want to get into it very much, but he did say that they've got one that's in the final stages, and it'll be announced maybe a week from now, he said. So probably as they're going to Spain or something like that. So
I'm going to make a prediction.
Yeah.
You want to make bets on what it is?
Sure, go ahead.
Do you have any idea what it is?
No, I have a thing I think it might be, but I don't have any factual basis for what. Just my educated.
I think it's a right back.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, because Giovanni Jesus is injured for most of the season.
Yeah.
And the only other person they've got is Emma. They don't really have an equitable option if Emma goes down.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess they could play Junka over there.
Yeah.
Or move Farfan over there. But I just wonder if it's not a right back.
Okay. Well, let me put a pin in that. We'll come back to that when we get to the tactics and coach stuff later. Is that cool?
Sure.
I will say that my guess is a wing, because Velasco's out for
another. Don't they have like 11 wingers on this team?
Well, they do, but how many of them are proven?
Oh, fair.
Like you got Paul, and then you got Bernie, right? I mean, Ansa played as a 9 all day today. Because if you're getting a striker and playing perhaps a 2-striker system, you're gonna, he's gonna be up there a lot more than he's gonna be wing. But we'll come back to some of that in the tactic stuff.
Okay.
But anyway, the other options are maybe because at one point I talked to Coach about tactics, which I'll get to a little bit more, but he mentioned something about Leggett and Paxton, and those guys were both hurt, and then we ran out of bodies. So maybe an 8 as well in there makes a lot of sense, because Velasco's more of an 8 than he was a wing by the end of the season. So that makes more sense as well. That kind of linking player perhaps, or more of a free 8-10 kind of player. So there's lots of possibilities for what it could be. Because otherwise, right now, other than Leggett as that free 8, you're looking at Pondeka as a free 8 or something. So that makes a lot of sense too, that position. So we'll see. I don't know that they have room for one DP if they want. They can buy down Paul. And then, so you might not be looking at a DP for this other player if you're trying to save that for the 9, maybe. So, but you can still be looking at a Tam Gam kind of player, which is what Yaramendi is for that matter. So, it could be really good, or it could be Facundo, who was also that kind of player, that great of a player. So, and speaking of Paxton's hurt.
We knew this, though.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, you and I knew this, but we haven't talked about it very much.
We haven't talked about it.
Yeah. But I went to training and I saw him. He's on the side. Now, he's busting his ass on the side. Me watching, I was like, I don't know why he's not
hold
training.
on. So the good news is that Paxton has both of his legs still.
Yes. Yeah,
okay.
yeah. And he was moving and booking and it looked great. I don't know why he wasn't in training. He went by me at the end. I said hello and I asked him what happened. And he said he just had a little clean out of the I think he said his knee. So, but nothing serious, just a little maintenance. I don't know. That kind of thing happens in players. I'm not super concerned. He didn't seem concerned. The team doesn't seem concerned, but Paxton watch, how it is. Yeah. He was moving really good though. So I don't have any worries about him.
So he's not fat.
No, he's definitely not fat. He's not that time when he sat out for 6 months and was fat. Yeah, no, not like that.
And is there an update on his hair and facial hair situation?
I did not notice facial hair. The hair on the top of his head is the same slowly losing battle and retreat that it's been for a decade now.
He's got the Gen Z comb over going on.
Yeah,
okay.
He does. It happens. I mean, it's easy for me to say that.
You know what? He may end up being Dallas's first comb over player.
He needs to just go high and tight, and look like so like a
me.
Yeah. I was gonna give him like a famous actor, but I couldn't think of one. Ed Helms or something, Not you.
Again, me.
George C. Scott. Yeah.
Woody Harrelson.
Yeah. Woody
me.
Harrelson. Yeah. Fair. Yeah. Peter Welpton. Fair.
Poor Paxton.
Paxton.
We love that guy so much.
We love him, but he's definitely losing the war.
Give him a kick in the sack. All right.
Yeah.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear that because I was worried about the dude, especially when I heard that he had knee surgery in the offseason.
No, he looks good. And in fact, I don't think he liked the fact that I asked him about it because he's tired of me having to ask him all the time. Every time I talk to him, he's hurt. But, okay, so where were we? So
more Zanata talk? Nothing else? Zanata offer to buy you lunch or a coffee or
no.
Nico
invited me to come to Spain though.
Say that again?
Nico invited me to come to Spain. Yeah.
Whoa.
Well, I mean, not like with the team, but he's like, "Oh, you should come. Bring your wife." I was like, "Oh, well, next year."
Okay.
Let's see. Oh yeah, Zanata. Okay, so Jesus Jimenez and Jose Mulato. Zanata did confirm for me that both those players have been told they're not going to be involved and not to come to camp. They are different in a sense. Mulato, 2 seasons at North Texas, wasn't really looking like he was going to get a lot of opportunities here. And they don't really want to stand in the kid's way of like progression of his career. Zanata said there's a fair number of teams that want him because remember he was the Byron World Team guy. And he said there's teams in South America and in Europe that are interested. I mean, it ain't going to be like Byron, of course, but they'll be able to move him for something.
What nationality is he?
Colombian.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, there's some teams that are going to want him. Just because he's not going to fit in MLS doesn't mean somebody's not going to bag him. And the international slot's a problem for him, and just the glut of guys in front of him. When last year, you saw, I think, that he was not able to be very effective at the MLS level, even though he scores bangers at North Texas. There's a gap there, so it's not quite there. That's just fine.
A small one.
Small one, yeah. It's about as wide to run a truck through it, but yeah. So Jimenez is tougher, but they're working with Jimenez's agent to facilitate this. They obviously have the buyout in the back of their pocket. They could do the buyout, but they're trying to also do what makes more sense for both of them and for Jimenez, because you got to get him to work with you. You can loan him, you could sell him. He's going to want probably to try and keep his salary the same, or I think he's got 1 year left. So there's probably a question of, well, maybe we can send you somewhere where they might want you for a couple of years. There's that kind of trade-off. They do have the ammo to buy him out if they have to. Obviously, they would probably prefer to some other way where they can kind of reduce the cost out of pocket, because on a buyout, you do actually have to pay the guy. They'd probably rather not pay him if they can get away with it. But so there's ways to move him out, and basically that'll clear 2 international spots and clear 2 senior international spot. Sorry, 2 senior roster spots, which is actually really important because with Velasco and Giovanni Jesus, you're losing 2 senior roster spots, so you're already down 2, and you would have been down 2 more. So really, you got to clean those up and get them out, and that's important.
So, and you may be headed this way, but I'm going to ask it. Did he give you any insight as to the plans on putting Velasco or Giovanni on IR, short or long term?
No. Well, they answered that before, that they weren't going to do long term. You can do short term, which is a minimum of 6 games, but that'll get you a roster spot available, but it doesn't get you cap relief. So there's not all that much point in doing it unless you've got an extra player laying around. So like the distinction between, if I want to do that, then I'll keep a guy that maybe I'm going to loan to North Texas for the year. I'll just keep him up for a little while, for 6 games or whatever it is. It'll be longer for Velasco's case, but you could sort of already do that anyway, in the sense of like, because you have the North Texas movement now, that kind of simple adjustment is not as hard as it used to be. So I don't know if they'll bother with that short-term IR. I assume they might, because, but the last few years they've always ran with 2 open roster slots anyway on the senior team. So those 2 guys could be those 2 slots. I don't know. We'll see if we get more clarity on that as time goes on. When they actually get to cut downs, we'll be able to count how many people they keep on the roster, and count how many senior spots. And along those lines, this is really important. Nico actually told me, Coach Nico told me that Omar Gonzalez, Ahmet Corsa, and Jimmy Maurer, all 3 signed Garrett Melser called it a team-friendly deal. What that means is they signed a deal that allows them to be put on the supplemental roster. So those are 3 players that would have normally cost you senior spots, that they managed to figure out how to get them down onto supplemental roster. And that's important because that doesn't count on the cap. It doesn't use up a senior spot. This is what they talked about in terms of trying to figure out how to have more depth to help them get through this load.
Wait, so that's what they did with Omar?
Yes.
So if they're getting Omar on cheap dollars and he's not taking a senior slot on the roster, why wouldn't they go out and get another set, like a prime level center back?
I think they want to use it on these other pieces. They're still trying to bring in 2 pieces, and keep in mind right now, Peter, they're actually way over the limit on players. They've got like 35 players in camp.
Yeah. All right.
So,
but Buzz, of
no,
the
I agree
35
with
players,
you.
10 of those guys, or hell, 20 of those guys aren't probably MLS level ready players.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, is that's why they want to have these. So, Omar basically and Jimmy Maurer basically are taking like the league minimum in order to do this. So it's really important. This is the kind of case where like a guy's really wanted to be here in order to make these things happen. And that was why Corsa's deal last year was declined, and why he's already been signed and they just haven't announced it yet, because of all the Inter Miami games, the pain in the ass and all that kind of stuff that's distracting everybody. So Corsa's on the roster, and Omar's on the roster, and Jimmy's on the roster, but in these friendly ways. And so you'll notice if you look that like there's a bunch of homegrowns that are going to get shuttled down to North Texas in order to make all that happen. But this is what we've been talking about all winter, this adjustment of the roster. And I'm with you, though. I think they're nuts that they don't want to go get a center back, but it's what they're doing. So that's where we are,
Okay. And
the last thing I asked about Zanata was Julian Eystone. And I said, is it as bad as I hear it is? And he basically said, it's really complicated. and maybe he would tell me more someday in the future. So that's a yes.
What does that mean?
That means they're not getting him is what it means.
Oh,
Yeah. It was his way around about saying that, yes, it's as bad as you hear it is. So
yeah, I mean, look, that's a tough situation for this club because for all the time, effort, and energy, and frankly, money that they dedicate and put into these kids, and only to learn that they really are, in many ways, powerless to the allure and, as I say, the lifted skirt of the European club. And I'm sure that's where Eyestone's headed somewhere over in Europe, obviously, and on a much bigger opportunity. And they end up getting nothing, frankly, for the guy.
Yeah.
I can see why they're kind of hesitant and reluctant to talk about it.
Yeah, part of the issue too with him is I think they got blindsided by his acceleration of his high school. When basically he came out a year earlier, they were like, "Oh shit," different than Weston, where they just weren't. They were going to let him go to college for a year, and then Shaka came in. This is one where the kid jumped the gun and went to college before they thought he was going to, and then they were like, "Oh crap," You're right. It's a problem for the entire league. It's not just FC Dallas. Just because this happened at FC Dallas like 5 times doesn't mean it's not a problem for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is more like Weston than it is like Jogo, who went early.
Sure. But I would say if, in fact, that version of events is true, that somehow they were surprised to find out that he accelerated his, academic career.
Yeah.
Then that tells me there's like all of the things that should be in place from a personnel standpoint aren't in the right place, because that's something they should know.
Yeah,
shouldn't they be talking to these kids on like a monthly basis just to track them? And if they've got their eye tagged on a guy to sign, that's really important to the long-term value of the club. I'd think you'd like to know that they at least know when the kid's planning on leaving high school.
Yeah, they don't have enough staff in the academy, and it's a question of spending money. They count on the parents and the kids to communicate with them academic stuff, because like if you're having academic problems, they won't put up with that. They'll sit you down if you're not keeping up your grades. If you're having school problems, there's been kids they've ejected from the academy over school issues before. But they don't have a person whose job it is to monitor that. They just count on you to tell them that. And I'm not sure, I don't know for sure, but I'm not sure that Eyestone told them he was graduating early or not until all of a sudden he was, so he obviously told Duke he was. I don't know if he told the club he was or not.
Yeah.
He might have told the academy, and the academy didn't necessarily make a big, like, holy crap, you guys better pay attention. And, the Zonal's got other things to do. You're right. If that's what caused the biggest issue, they need to figure that out. I would say, generally speaking, that the academy staff is just not big enough to have like this month by month, checkup with your very best products. There's a lot of people down there. But I also don't want to make excuses for the fact that in the end, they can't afford to match what I think Iceland's going to get. I think in the end, that's the problem.
Yeah, I mean, tracking or not or whatever, at the end of the day, the club very easily can get outbid for its best players if they're not unable to get them to sign deals.
That's what happened to Weston. Is that by the time Schalke came in, Dallas was blown out of the water before they even got in the water.
Well, I mean, but you know what? That happened in the very earliest days of the academy and homegrown signings and things like that. I mean, it was a much different time in the league. So much has taken place between then and now. I mean, how many people have they signed to homegrown deals between Weston and Eyestone? What are they up to? 28 or 30, right?
Yeah,
so they know how to do this.
Yeah.
That's not the mystery. At the end of and I think that's really the hardest part of this is they know how to do it. But there are going to be those times where they have players that are so exceptional and so good, they are utterly powerless to get them to come actually sign a deal professionally with them.
It's going to be interesting. I've heard through the grapevine that Eyestone changed agents at the last minute. So I do wonder if, first agent was like, going along with MLS, and all of a sudden some agent maybe came in with this big money or whatever. And they were like, oh crap, and jumped.
Yeah.
Because I say changed agents. You don't sign with an agent until you actually are signing a contract. So like all you can do up until that point is just advise a player who's a youth who's under the age of 18. You can just advise them. So there's not like he fired a guy. He hadn't signed with any agent yet. So you can change on a whim when you don't really have one officially. You only have an advisor.
Yeah.
So,
well, look, that is the unfortunate byproduct of this club being so good and arguably the best in the league at producing talent. I mean, it just is. It's not like Houston that can't generate talent for themselves, much less the rest of the world. Look, and at the end of the day, it'll be interesting to see where Eyestone ends up, because that for me will dictate whether or not I decide it's a good opportunity for him.
Yeah, I will say 100% that, like, from what I'm understanding is that it's not 100% done. Like, he's not signed. He's not 18 yet, so he hasn't signed anything. But it's just not looking good. I know Zanetta is still talking to them and trying to salvage something, so maybe he can figure something out. But in the meantime, it's definitely going in the wrong direction in terms of that. So,
so is Zanetta nice to you?
Yeah, he's always very nice to me. It's just hard to get him sometimes, because he's got.
Ask him the hard questions.
Yeah, it's not. Well, I ask questions that people don't ask, but he also doesn't come to training that often. And when he does, he usually stands over there on the coach's side of the field, and I can't actually go over there. So unless I wave him over and he sees me, or if I tell the PR guy to go get him or whatever, I don't get him as much as I like.
I have this image of you trying to walk over to the coach's side and somebody running over and tasing you.
It might not go that far, but it might be like, hey, what are you doing? I'll give you an example. Like, they have the main training field that they use. We, the media, go in the gate right by the stadium, right there by where the walkway is, right where that little shed is. And then at the other end of that field is an angle by the parking lot. There's a big, huge gate. And when they go to the next field over to train, all the players walk through that gate. And we, the media, are not allowed to walk through that giant space. We have to walk back out and walk around to the other field. So, you can't, I'm allowed to go up and down one sideline, basically. So that's so about stupid. It. Well, it's back in the day, there were coaches that knew me a lot better that would invite me to come over, or me and everybody else that was there all the time. Tobias, Steve Davis, we would go stand right next to the drills, but we're not allowed to do that these days. So it is what it is. That's not a battle worth fighting. It's just kind of funny. That rule, particularly what gates you can go through, originated during COVID, and they just never relaxed it. They just kept it after that, which is hard to blame them for, I guess, in a way.
All right.
Player safe space and all that kind of stuff.
Thanks, Andre, for the chat.
Yeah. Here's one more thing I found out. Enes Sali is going to wear number 99, and I hate that. That's so stupid. But whatever.
Can I ask, so have you decided it's Enes, or I thought it was Enes Sali?
Oh, I swear somebody said Enes to me today.
Well, no, that's why I'm asking, because you're out with people, and maybe because I thought the pronunciation guy had it as Enes. But maybe it is Enes.
I have the sheet in front of me right here, and I will see what it says. I'll tell you a funny story about that. Maybe I've told this before, but Tariq Scott, his name is Tariq. I called him Tariq for literally 4 years.
Yeah, you and me both.
And I was like, oh, it's Tariq. And people, literally coaches in the academy are like, I've been calling him Tariq for 4 years. It's like, the kid never said anything. It's Tariq.
Oh, okay.
So, that's on him for not saying anything, because the people that played with him were calling him Tariq. Okay, it says Enes, E-E, big capitalized Enes.
Enes.
Yeah, Enes Sali.
So it's not Enes, it's not Enes, it's Enes.
It's not Enes, it's Enes.
Enes, okay.
E-E, big capitalized, N-E-S small. Enes. So I was right, Enes Sali. So anyway, he's 99.
So it's like penis without the P.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly. Wow. Anyway, I think he's always wanted 7 because he's always worn 77, but Kamiko has 77, who also wants 7. Everybody wants 7. So he's wearing 99, maybe for Gretzky. I don't know, because he's Canadian. and I hate it.
I'm sorry, Buzz.
It's all right.
You can tell him my penis joke.
Yeah. When I'm a billionaire and I buy the team, no numbers over 30 ever. That's the rule.
Okay. That's a tiny roster you have there, sir.
Yeah, well, it's a 30-man roster in Major League Soccer. Learn to love it. Anyway, okay, so that's...
Are all your academy kids going to wear 3-digit numbers like the Mexican clubs?
No.
See, that's what I want to see.
Not doing that. I hate that.
Okay.
I mean, I get it culturally, but I hate it. I didn't always guitar on me. Because I would not want to wear that kind of number.
All right, I've totally derailed this. So you're done talking to Zanata, then you run over and you give Nico a big hug.
Yeah, Nico gave Nico a big hug. He invited me to come to Spain. It was cool.
Right.
He's like, oh, you should come. It's beautiful. I was like, well, I said, because I told him I had before. I used to go to La Manga, and I went. He's like, oh yeah, you should come. Bring your wife. I said, maybe next year. So that's on the table. That'll be fun.
All right.
So what I wanted to mention under talking to Nico is that I brought up the beep test because we've reported that Yaramendi won it, and then Diego Garcia, who's the 17, 18-year-old kid, was second, and Junca was third. Sam Junca. Apparently, Omar Gonzalez finished really high as well, and I was talking to Coach about that, and he talked about how it's a lot of it is mental, and he actually was really proud of Yaramendi and Gonzalez both because it shows that how professional they are. They both came in great shape, ready to go, and sort of demonstrated to everybody else what's at stake and how you have to be. And I think that's actually a good point. I'm sure there's also a corollary of, you don't want an old guy to be your best player, but that comes back again to the idea that it's mental. It's not just physical. You got to be able to fight through a wall with your mind and your willpower, and because it is very incredibly difficult to do, of course. So I don't know if you have
when you reported that the oldest guy on the team won the beep test, I wondered if that says more about the player or everybody else on the team, because it's not like it's one 36-year-old and a bunch of 18-year-old guys.
Yeah.
There is a lot of guys in there that are in the prime of their career that I think should be beating the 36-year-old at the beep test.
Well,
and I know it's mental. I know that the mentality part of it is a huge part of it, but I also think there's a list of these guys that should have the mentality to be winning the beep test.
Yeah, I would agree with you on some level. Now, Coach,
can I throw in one other thing?
Yeah,
Let me throw in one other thing. This also brings me back. Remember, at this time last year, when Nico Estevez was having his conversations with the media, you remember how we kept talking about his repeated use of the word
mentality,
complacency.
Yeah.
And not being complacent. And we kept asking ourselves, why does he keep bringing up complacency? And then as the season played out, it was like, now I know why, because he thinks everybody just was jerking off during the offseason. And that's what makes me think about this, which is your oldest dude wins the beep test, and it makes me wonder, has everybody just been sitting around with their thumbs up their butt all offseason?
Yeah, he actually was raving about how, Yaramendi and mentality, and he was like, and he said it was such a hammer down of like, this is what it takes to compete at a real level, and what an eye opener, a wake up call it was for like the whole team to see that and be like, holy crap, and I think it's probably true. Now, keep in mind,
doesn't that bother you that they needed to have their eyes opened?
Yeah,
they're not a bunch of high schoolers. They're professionals. Yeah. They're getting paid a lot of money.
I know, but sometimes people get complacent.
Yeah.
And admittedly, Paxton did not take part in the beep test. I think he would have done.
And neither
did
well. Jesus.
Neither did Jesus Ferreira.
He wasn't there, isn't he? Oh, is he there?
No, he's here. Yeah.
Oh, that's
people
right.
Who are missing
he is
are,
here. Jesus,
Nicosi.
I thought maybe was still coming off his injury situation.
No, he's good. He did the beep test. Okay. Nikosi Tafari and Bernie Kamungo are missing because they're at national camp.
No, I thought Paxton and Jesus didn't do it because of injury situations.
No, just Paxton.
Okay.
Jesus was in it.
God, I'd love to know where Jesus ended up.
Yeah, I didn't ask. I don't have the poor finishers. Other than it's always keepers. Those are good.
That's a failure on your part as a reporter, Buzz.
I know. Well, I should have just been there. I don't know. I'll ask somebody I know that was there. I'll see what he says.
Okay.
Without outing him. So what else did Nico say? One thing from training was that there was a whole lot of today 3-4-3 and 4-4-2. And I was like, are you abandoning your 4-3-3? And he said, no, I just want to be able to play all these different formations. And so I want to drill it a bunch. He really likes the switch, and I don't like it, but he really likes it. And both of those formations use Jesus as not as a 9. So Jesus played the whole day today as a wing or as an off striker. So they really are all in on this idea that he's not going to be the 9. Ansa was at 9. Logan Farrington was at 9. So that's definitely in the cards, if you will. And then other than that, it was just a lot of talk about. He told me they're upgrading some more facilities there at the Toyota to do some things inside. He didn't get really into specifics, but some more health and fitness kind of things like they did last year, some more of that kind of stuff. So
He pulled his phone out and showed you photos of the new kit.
No, I wish. And we talked a little bit about Spain and how excited they are to go against some of these teams from other leagues and try and have there's other coaches that are around there that are scouting and picking up these other tactics and lessons and I think it's really great. And they're going to Wichita Falls. They left today for Wichita Falls, and coach was team exercise, get away, sequester, military base, and also that clinic at the university and all that stuff. So that's all happening.
So it's funny. I don't even know how long we've been talking now, but you've mentioned we've had long conversations about two discussions with two key players in the front office, and I've not yet heard you mention the Inter Miami game on Monday with either one of them.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really talk to them about it because it's just, it's a training game. I mean, they're not involved with it. They're just playing in it. They don't.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm surprised they didn't go, we have to do this, and this is how we're. I mean, none of that came up in terms of.
No.
Really? Wow.
The only people that brought it up were the PR people that said that they're getting absolutely crushed by it because it's such a complicated shit show.
Yeah, I'm interested in figuring out how many tickets they've sold because
doesn't look like it's very many to me.
No, because all the season ticket people, the season ticket holders that converted their tickets are all getting really killer seats at cheap prices.
Yeah,
certainly way better than what the face values were on sale originally from the Fair Park ticket site.
I think it goes to show that, like, particularly here in America, like, it's a preseason game, it doesn't count. Nobody cares. Like, I'm not paying $300 to see Messi when it's a scrimmage. He's even going to play. The weather's going to be shit.
Yeah. Well, and it would be. I mean, if the weather's crappy, all bets are off. But if it's a nice day, which it doesn't look like it's going to be, the walk-up could be pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, fair.
Because that's the only you can only buy tickets at the stadium on the day of the game. I saw that in the list too. So
yeah.
All right, interesting. Okay.
I brought up with Coach Nico the idea of I asked him if they had any interest in, for example, my idea of sending Antonio Carrera on loan to get him some top flight games because again he's passed by North Texas basically, and they said potentially we're kicking the tires on a couple of things because they want to invest in him. He's a keeper for the future that they have signed. So the one they got. So, they're trying to invest in him and they may decide that the best thing for him is to get some sort of rip of games, whether it be a whole season with a right of recall or whether it just be a certain stretch or whatever. He mentioned like they've done with Colin Smith and Iwato Masi and, all Jesus went to Tulsa once. I mean, even Jesse Gonzalez way back in the day went to I think it was Pittsburgh or somewhere, These kind of things are good versus, if he is here in camp here, they do want him to push as hard as he can to be the number two, and that's a discussion that'll happen over time, whether him or Jimmy is really the number two.
Okay.
That's about it for talking to Nico. And then we can just talk about training if you want, like some first impressions on guys.
Yeah, I want to hear more about your Enes. Wait.
Enes.
Penis.
Enes.
Yeah.
Enes. Yeah. Yeah. Quick, bursty, skillful.
I'm going to really regret coming up with that.
I know.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, Buzz. Go ahead.
Yeah. Obviously, inexperienced kid, but boatloads of talent. Really exciting to watch the skill set. See how quickly he could burst through gaps and charge forward, and not a ton of like full field game to really evaluate like a full game, but I mean clearly you can see why they signed him. There's a bags of skill there. We'll see if he can actually play. Those things are different. But first impression was really skillful player. So, but then again, I held that same impression with Isaiah Parker, who again today is a really skillful player. That doesn't always mean that you play the way the coach wants or has your brain work the way it should work and make the right decisions. And I want to come back to brain in a minute, but if you suddenly get a question there.
Well, I was just going to say, but the difference between Parker and Sali is they've gone way out of their way to get this Romanian kid over here. So I assume they know he fits the system.
Yeah, I would hope so. Gosh, if they didn't, that would be. I mean, he better.
Are they really counting on anything out of this guy this season?
Not the beginning.
Oh, okay.
That's why, you know what, I think there's some possible value of the sign they're working on that could be potentially a winger or an 8 in that sort of same ballpark. Anyway.
So you've been following this team and this club in its entire existence.
Mm-hmm.
Does his size concern you at all?
No, because he's not so small that it's a problem. He's just Paul Arriola size, and 17 instead of 27, so he's short. That's okay. He's not too short. There is a point at which it's ridiculous and you're just too small, but we don't ever see that really happen. I mean, he's probably taller than the MVP in Cincinnati, Acosta.
Really?
He was 5'3" or something. Right. So I think he's taller than that, but only barely, depends on how tall you believe Paul Arriola really is, because he's about that same height.
But is he a good baller?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Very skillful.
Okay.
Sali, yeah.
So if you saw him as a 17-year-old playing on the U19s, you'd go, okay, this kid's got something.
Oh, yeah.
He's that level. That's what I'm
super.
asking.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He'd be top of the homegrown list. Yeah. He'd be like, dude, get that kid signed. For sure. Yeah. He's not so small that you'd be like, forget it. No, he's definitely skilled. But they go for a lot of guys like this. I mean, they got several kids in the academy that are this kind of player.
And I'm assuming since he's half Canadian, he speaks English well.
I don't know. I would assume so.
Okay.
I mean, I think he went to high school somewhere in here in Canada for a bit. I mean, but I have no idea. I just assume so. Being Canadian, I can't imagine he's not.
Tell me all about the kick-ass collegiate striker that
Logan Farrington
hit a bucket load of goals this season.
Yeah, well, he moves better in person than he does on tape. I was actually really pleased when I was watching him in a small-sided drill. He reads the game really well, moves really well, could handle the ball in tight space. So, yeah, all signs of a really quality player there. When you get into a full field, it's very different. And the most I saw today was about a 2/3 field, where he, got some touches. It was only about 15 minutes. So, but there's definitely some quality there, and I like him more than I did just off the tape. Got some good shots in the drills and stuff, and has potential. Now, considering that, like, the first day I saw Cobra, within 2 minutes I was like, oh no, and then 6 minutes later I was like, oh fuck, this guy's terrible. And then this wasn't like that. This was like, oh yeah, good. I like it. Nice player. So really positive first impression from him. He is tall. That's good. Good size on him.
Yay.
And can ball. So we'll see how good his decision making is in a full field
hit the ball hard
type game. He didn't really get any like open big blasting shots like that. Mm-hmm. Like the place he was most effective actually was the small space drills. When he got into the full field drills, he was on a team that was a lot of youngsters, and he didn't get a whole lot of the ball. That's not really his fault.
Okay.
Turner Humphrey, who's the second round pick, I quite like. Gave me big Nkosi Tafari vibes. Really rangy and strong. So he was, and good one-on-one defending, so he could get the ball off of guys quite well. But then he wasn't sure what to do with it once he got it. His feet were tidy, so he didn't turn it over. So it's not like he's Lucas Bartlett where he's panicking and turning the ball over and it's bouncing everywhere and he's kicking it out of bounds and stuff like that.
Poor Bartlett.
He was actually pretty tidy with the ball. Once he won it, he's able to keep it away and shield it off. He just didn't really know what to do with it right away, but he was able to hold it for a second, and then people could show for him and they'd be like, oh, here we go, and they would get it out. So not at all nervous. Like Bartlett was nervous. This kid wasn't nervous. He was up for it. So
what college did he go to?
Oregon State.
Oh, that's right.
They always draft only after Oregon State guys.
Beavers.
From Beavers. The one game, the one Oregon State SMU game, drafted everybody from that game. Yeah. I almost asked Coach about that, but then I'll wait until I ask him some other day. But yeah, good first impression from him. I liked it. I don't know that he's going to make the FC Dallas roster, but maybe he can, because, like I said, they're not getting that extra center back. There might actually be a spot for him. We'll see.
Okay, well, let's put it this way. All right, you've only seen him a very little bit, but
Yeah.
you also, it's not like you've seen Corsa a ton.
Yeah.
If you, just based off what you've seen, would you put him on the roster over Corsa?
Yes, because I think he may have more upside than Corsa.
Okay.
He's a little more rangy. I like that in a player.
Okay.
All right, the last pick, Mads Westergrain. He is not as rangy. He's a bit more of a stay-at-home guy. Funny enough, he looks just like Nolan Norris. I kept getting him confused. Seemed like a solid player. Didn't blow me away. Wasn't terrible. So I don't know what'll happen with him. The problem is he's an international. Will he take a North Texas gig? It's a super long shot that he would make the FC Dallas roster. That's very, very unlikely just because of the numbers. But, it didn't look out of place. So kind of okay, fine kind of review on him. No big deal. Other stuff from training, like I said, Isaiah Parker looked good again. Nolan Norris played midfield most of the time. His touch is so good. If he was a center back, he'd be the best passing and dribbling center back, but he looks improved.
Are you surprised at all they're not giving him a run at center back?
No, I think they think more likely he's going to be in the midfield. He's an inch or two shorter than you might like to be a center back. I think it's not out of the woods yet that he won't play some center back. I don't think they're 100% sold on where he's going to be. But playing him in midfield challenges him more in terms of passing and his feet anyway. So it's a higher pressure environment. So you can really learn a lot playing in there as it is.
Okay.
What else was I going to say? Alejandro Urzura, who's the newest homegrown, having had one of the hybrid deals, where he was North Texas last year and homegrown this year. He looks quite confident and mature, which is really nice. He's grown a little bit. That was all really good signs with him. A couple of North Texas guys they had up looked pretty good. I mean, the guys they have up are some of their very best North Texas players. So that was nice to see. I was surprised to see Thomas Pondeka play right back today. That was weird. I think of him, he really accelerated as when he made him an 8 last year from instead of a wing. And so today he played right back. And I was like, what is going on there? I think it's mostly because in a 3-4-3, they need like these Dante Sealy kind of wide outside wing backs, Tarek Scott, was out, running around, looked good, moving around. So just glad to see him back after his double, MCL, ACL last year horror. And his brother, of course, is on the team now too. So they both look exactly alike, and they don't look exactly alike. I can tell them apart, but they look very, very similar. And that's about all I really got, I think, off of.
No big surprises, no stunning moments, no cool training story to tell. Nobody fell over got shot by a sniper, embarrassed themselves.
Well, there was nobody that was like, oh my God, this guy is total crap. There was nobody like that, which is actually really good. Yeah, that's an improvement considering there have been times where that has been the case.
Yes.
Whether it be Bartlett or whether it be Cobra, or Coleman or, nothing like that. And the guys I was looking forward to seeing, the draft picks, I was like, oh, looks pretty good. The big problem, of course, is that it is just one day, and I won't see them before they play Inter or go to Spain. I won't see them again. And until you play somebody, you never really know. Like, everybody looks great in training when you're playing yourself. And then when you finally go play another team is when you really find out. So we're going to find out real quick. Ansa playing more 9 than wing was kind of there. Logan playing 9 a whole way. They obviously think quite highly of him, that they're dumping other people basically to keep that kid. So no Bernie, no Nikosi. They weren't there. That really is about it.
All right. Well, I hope the Logan kid turns out to be a winner for them. But you and I both know that history tells us the odds of a draft pick striker, hitting double-digit goals is very, very rare in the history of this league. I know it happened in Orlando last season, but that is definitely the exception to the rule.
Yeah. Daryl DK, that's about it.
Yeah.
No one's done it. I mean, there have been many seasons where the leading scorer for FC Dallas didn't have double-digit goals, let alone like a college draft pick. But I did talk to Coach about, we gotta get more goals. We gotta find goals. They know, so it won't shock me. I mean, we know they're out looking for a 9, and it won't shock me to see them, get somebody that can help contribute to that goal total. Bringing back again the idea of an 8 or a free 8, maybe a 10 kind of player, a guy that can get assists other than since they've lost Velasco for basically the year. I mean, Zanata pushed back on that. Well, I don't know where you heard basically the whole year. It's like, dude, I've seen these knee injuries. I know how they go. I don't care that Velasco's already got the brace off and he's doing all this stuff. It's like the odds of him coming back and being impactful next year are slim. So, you got to get through the bulk of the season. So it wouldn't shock me to see a player in that capacity. How much money they want to spend, we'll see. I think my other big takeaway is there's a bunch of kids in training. I think they're there just more for their development. I think there's 10 guys in training right now that have no shot at all of making the first team. But that's not why they're there. They weren't signed for that. Even if they're homegrowns, they're not really for that first team. We talked about the older guys that are taking these supplemental slots, that's pushing those kids down to North Texas, So that's kind of where we're at. I'm really pleased to hear them talk about, of course, no center back, that sucks. But the fact they're going to get another player and they're going after a 9 finally is the first sign of at least some level of ambition to get better. So rather than just hold pat, and that's good. They got to now deliver, but it's the signs of life, right? So,
well, yes and no. It'll all depend on the end result in terms of who they sign.
Of course.
Of how we determine how ambitious they are. But making Omar Gonzalez your number 3 center back does not flash ambition to me.
Well, it saves you a bunch of money, I guess, that you can use other places, I suppose.
Okay.
I think it's a terrible idea, Peter. I'm with you. I'm not trying to convert you. I'm just
saying
I'm
more concerned about it now that you told me how they've actually gotten him on the roster at practically nothing. And it's like, well, that would give you all the more reason to go out and get another top quality center back.
And Nikosi's really cheap too.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, look, Sebastian should be 3, Omar should be 4, and there should be some kick-ass other center back, young prime player center back paired with Tafari. That's absolutely what should be happening here.
And I agree, and all the national writers said the same thing. Not that you needed validation that I knew what I was talking about, but
no, they all just listened to what you said, and wrote it down, and spit it out themselves.
Maybe so. I don't think so, but maybe so.
You're the original, Buzz. That's what they do. They trust you.
Look, it's pretty clear, that they jettisoned Martinez because he wasn't good enough, and they signed a player that's probably basically the same, except that they know him and trust him and like him. So, but it's
I think Omar's better at defending in open space. Like he is an improvement over Martinez, but he's not the. I was looking forward to a season where Sebastian Ibeagha was not your second center back.
Yeah. I would have liked to have had 2 center backs I wasn't worried about. So now I'm always going to be worried about one of the center backs.
Yeah.
Whether it's Omar or whether it's Ibeagha, I'm always going to be concerned.
Yeah.
So, maybe a year or 2 later, I mean, listen, there's a great value to having Omar here, but just not the 3.
Yeah. The value of the Omar signing is all down to where he come, as long as he wasn't the only one. He would be an outstanding 4th. But he should, or 3rd, oh no, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay. I wanted 2 center back signings.
I will say that
the grizzled veteran home guy from Skyline, awesome. But let me also get some young prime player that's going to kick somebody's ass out there and be able to chase and have some pace.
I will say some of the issue in terms of bringing in bodies has to do with how you get rid of Jimenez, because if you do a straight buyout, he's 100% off the cap, but then you have to eat $1.6 million. So, there are ways you can get rid of him where you can have some level of cap hit so you don't have to eat the whole thing. Maybe it's not, there's 100 little rules about how you get rid of players. And it can be very complicated. Every time it happens, some new wrinkle or rule sort of pops up. So I can't even begin to define you for all the different ways you can get rid of Jimenez. But, there are some ways to do it that are better for your cap than others, and some ways that are better for your bottom line than others.
Right.
And the Hunts are going to hunt, so we'll see how they manage to get rid of the guy and what kind of cap hit they end up having to take on the guy. And that is part of what is going to taking some time on these other guys is determining how you do that. So,
all right. We're just to the point where we're repeating ourselves.
Am I? Okay.
Well, no, me too. We both are. We're just covering. I want to move on to something else.
Okay.
I want your wife is a real estate agent.
Yeah.
And I want to know if you and the lovely Mrs. Carrick have had a conversation about how much money you're going to make by renting your house out since you're walking distance from AT&T Stadium where the World Cup final is going to be held in 2026.
How much do you think I can get for renting it for a month and a half? How much do you think I can get?
Dude, like seriously, how far are you? Like, you're not walking distance from the stadium, are you?
It's exactly 1 mile from my door to the door of Cowboy Stadium.
Then my answer to your question is probably if you rent it, I bet you could do $10,000.
Yeah, you think?
Oh,
for a month and a half?
Yes.
Yeah.
For how many bedrooms?
Two with an office.
I bet you could.
Yeah,
maybe more. The market will tell. But as soon as
and I have a garage apartment too. Sure, how about that?
Oh yeah, dude, you're gonna clean up.
Yeah, I got a couple of years to get this place in ship shape.
I don't even know how ship shape you need to put it in. You don't spend all your profit getting it nice. It's just as long as it's presentable. Somebody will rent that thing from you being so close to the stadium.
Apparently, my street is like the last one you can be Airbnb in the entertainment district. So literally, like half the houses on my block are Airbnbs.
See, here's the thing. I wouldn't even bother Airbnb in it. I wouldn't give Airbnb that slice of the deal. You could just put an ad out and just do it on your own.
I wouldn't do it through them if I was going to do it. I would just do it because I know people.
Or you could just stay there and walk to the stadium every day.
Yeah, I might. I might go to a lot of games.
Hell, I may come live with you for a month and a half.
You can come park in my driveway if you go to a game. Save yourself $50.
I will absolutely take you up on that one.
Dan did that. Dan parked in my driveway to go to some wrestling over there.
That's awesome.
He was very excited.
Yeah, all day that we've all been kind of working under the premise that Dallas was the lead city of the three up for the final. And then somebody leaked, I guess some rumor hit the news cycle today that Dallas is going to be announced. And then FIFA had to make an announcement about the announcement, which now I guess is going to happen on February the 4th.
Yeah. I got a casita, too. I can rent out my casita, my trailer.
Dude, you are going to clean up.
Yeah.
You are a landlord. I was going to say you and Amy should probably live in the casita.
Yeah, rent out the house.
And rent out the house and the garage apartment for sure. Yes.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. Or live in the garage apartment or something. I don't know, but
go stay at my dad's house.
Go stay at your dad's house. Do something. You're so close to the stadium. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. I walk to Cowboy games when I work them.
I mean, Buzz, the idea that we're like just the World Cup coming back to DFW is amazing unto itself. But the idea they're going to play the World Cup final in our town or in our metroplex or anywhere near us I just find to be unbelievable.
Yeah, we probably won't be able to get final tickets, but I'm going to go to as many games as I can here in Dallas, however many they have.
Oh, I'm sure they're going to have group stage. I'm sure they'll have some knockout in the final. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, there's no way Jerry's going to talk them into doing this and spend all this time and money and not have as many. I bet they have like 8 games there or something like that.
Wow, that'd be crazy. That'd be awesome.
And somebody else pointed out, and that a while ago to me, it's part of the allure of them doing this is not just the fact that it's 100,000 attendance stadium right there, but there are 2 other stadiums within walking distance that they can have watching parties and do fan events in.
That's part of their bid was that the World Cup final, they can fill up those other 2 stadiums and literally have like 250,000 people, over here for the, Yeah.
And by then, maybe by the year 2026, there'll be some sort of new technology where they can hologram the game on the surface, and you can watch the hologram version of the World Cup final in both Choctaw and Globe Life in real time.
Let's have an olds check. How many games did you go to in '94 at the Cotton Bowl?
I did not go. I was not living here at the time.
Oh, I went to 3.
Yeah.
3 of the 5, I think, that there were. I was at the Germany-South Korea game where South Korea was winning like 2-0, and Germany came back and won 3-2. I think it was.
Wow.
I went to Bulgaria, Argentina, and I went to what's the third game? Something like Sweden, Nigeria. Something that was like a whatever, but it was still awesome.
Well, good luck to us here in the Metroplex, for sure. Okay. Anything else, Buzz?
North Texas SC opens camp February 1st. That's the only thing I really got.
Neat.
And, yeah, I know you don't care, but I care. Anything else you wanted to ask me about that from training?
Well, I kind of threw it in there. Did anybody bring up the kit? I'll have to just default.
No.
Okay. We don't have any more on that.
Nothing on the kit other than I feel strongly that we're right on our guess.
They're reviewing. Well, have we posted a guest online at all? Okay.
Not yet.
Do we have a final mock-up from Dan?
No, not yet. He's close, but we were waiting for Media Day, and there were a couple of things we got from Media Day that are refining what we're doing.
Oh, okay.
So a couple of payoffs from that, and then obviously Dan's a little distracted right at the minute. So
this is also bad podcasting, but how different is it than the one mock-up he shared in the group chat a week ago?
Oh, not far. Just some minor stuff that we picked up from, stuff sticking out of people's, untucked shirts and stuff.
Yeah, okay.
And some of it from other teams too. Like we've seen other leaks and other refinements. And
have you seen the mock-up of the New England X jersey?
No.
So there's a leak running around out there that New England's new jersey is kind of like Rangers blue with a giant white X across it with the sponsor logo kind of dividing it in the middle.
That sounds awful.
The logo probably ruins a really it kind of does have Marvel Universe vibes to it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's real or not.
Mm.
Somebody put it in the kit section of your Discord.
Oh.
If I remember, that's where I saw it.
I'll go back and look.
You have to go there and see if you saw that. And I've seen the LA third, the green, the dark green and black half panel.
Apparently, the thirds all are going to have like a city branding rather than a sponsor. The sponsor's going to be on the back, supposedly. There's the leak.
Weird.
So that's...
Okay.
Yeah. Oh,
right.
It looks like a Scotland jersey.
Yeah.
Wow, that's not as terrible as it sounded. The sponsorship is terrible, but the pattern's not bad.
Yeah, it's not a cross, it's an X.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like a Scotland flag, I see what you're saying. Yeah, Scottish flag. Okay. Yeah, interesting. Okay. Well, well, I'm glad you got to make it out to practice today, Buzz.
Thanks, man. It was
so you don't get to see them again until when?
Well, the inter game is this weekend, then they go to Spain. So it's or Monday or whatever the game is. And that's it, basically. They're leaving. And so when they come back, so it'll basically be February before I'll see them again. But other than the games, we'll get to watch the games. Both those games are being streamed.
The Miami game is being streamed.
The Miami's game is being streamed. The New Mexico game is not being streamed, but it's at a time I can't go. I could have gone because of media, but it's in the middle of the afternoon. I have a game I'm producing that day, so I can't. Okay. I can't go, but Dan will go to that one and cover that one, and I'm sending photographers. And
we think they're streaming games from Spain?
I'm told for sure they're streaming some, and that the club was working on streaming the ones that aren't being officially streamed by whatever the little fakey tournament they're going to be involved in. Like I don't know if you remember when Dallas would go to La Manga or when they went to Arizona, like the official quote unquote games from that quote unquote tournament, they stream them. But then they roll out these scrimmages just against whoever over at a field that usually has refs. So they're real games, but they're just not in the tournament. They're trying to figure out how to get some of those other ones. No promises, of course, but there'll be some of them will be streamed for sure.
All right.
I'm told.
I'll end this conversation with a question from one lifelong Cowboy fan to the other. Are you mad they're keeping McCarthy?
No, I don't worry about coaches too much. I'm not surprised at all they're keeping McCarthy, because if you have 3 straight 12-win seasons and make the playoffs, often the Cowboys in the past 2 decades have failed to even be 800, 500. So I'm not surprised they're keeping him. He's won 2 of the last 3 NFC East titles. Not surprised at all.
Okay.
Plus, Jones doesn't like to fire guys early. He likes to let their contracts run out. He's got 1 more year to go, I think. So
okay. I'm
okay with it. I'm fine with it. I'm aware that they have deficiencies that are keeping them from winning the title, but I'm not sure you can fix them in 1 season, what those things are.
All right. There's Cowboy Talk.
Yeah, Cowboy Talk.
On the soccer pod.
Yep.
All right, man. Great talking to you.
Yeah. Always a pleasure, buddy. Thank you for being here.
It's like 30 years of doing this.
I know, 27, but yeah, almost 30.
All right. Congratulations, Buzz.
Thanks, man. Thanks. I'm glad everybody's here for the ride, hopefully.
Yeah.
Give Buzz more of your money, people. Do it.
Thanks. Third Degree the podcast has been brought to you by Soccer90.com, your spot for all that MLS gear, Premier League, Serie A. Man, if you want it out of Europe, they got it. National team stuff. Soccer90.com. They got everything: jerseys, tees, scarves. Getting more soccer gear by the day. Third Degree listeners get 20% off when you use the code Third Degree to check out. 20% off, code Third Degree. Soccer90.com. Some exclusions apply.
All right. We will thank you, FC Dallas Curious fans. We will be back and talk more. I don't know if I'm going to the Miami. I have my Miami game ticket, but the weather will be the indicator of whether or not I actually attend the game. And if I go, I'll have a full report. How about that?
Sweet.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thank you, Buzz. Thank you, FC Dallas Curious fans. We'll speak to you next week in another episode of Third Degree, the podcast.
Come back soon, Dan.
Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast.